Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Slim. I'm a data scientist at Epsilon France, and I'm so honored to be part of the Epsilon community. And I'm so glad too to have with me three experts surrounded in the field to talk about how to leverage the values of data in the era of maturity. So let's start by introducing my guest. I will start with you, Mekim.
Hi, very nice to meet you guys. Happy to be here. I'm Mikim Shikli and I'm leading the business of Weborama, which is a data company.
Okay, what about you, Thibaut?
Hi Slim, hi everyone. My name is Thibaut. I'm leading the operation of Epsilon outside of the US. So it's roughly all Europe and APAC operations.
Okay, and Lo?
Hello, Slim. I'm leading Epsilon in France and happy to be here with you today.
Amazing to work with Epsilon friends. So, my first question, I will say, as a data scientist, I have been in the field for 3 years right now. And my question is, would you say that the data is already mature? I will start with you, Miki.
Sure. Well, I think data is definitely mature. Is the market mature? I'm not really sure because the problem is the ecosystem around data. So that's the main issue. Is the ecosystem ready? Meaning advertiser, publisher, how to handle that big turnaround in managing your business? That's the question mark.
Yeah. Okay. And Thibaut, what do you think about it?
I think, of course, data is more mature and in the organization that we are working with or working for or trying to help on the data matters, data is more mature, but it's also more central. And the key topic that we have seen over the last few months is the fact that companies have tried to put data at the core of their ecosystem, not only to prove some of the decision, but to come more upstream to try to trigger some of the decision. And this requires a fundamental shift in the way they are considering data, to put it more upstream, put it at the core of their organization, to fuel all of their ecosystem, their marketing activity, of course, but not necessarily only their marketing activities.
Okay. What about you, Lo?
Yeah, I agree with Thibaut and Mikim. Of course, data market is not mature. But I would say as Thibaut said, a lot of companies now have put data at the heart of their strategy. They are hiring data scientists, data engineer, but there is still some question about the data governance, who is handling that in the company, how the organization is working around data. So I think we can still develop a bit of maturity in that area.
Okay. Talking about maturity, question crossed my mind. It's a topical question. Like, we all had harsh times in this pandemic period, and would you say that this hard period accelerated this how we would say step for this maturity?
I think we can all say that COVID changed our lives in all the industries, for each kind of companies. In terms of data market, yeah, for sure. What we saw is the companies who started to work on data before the others are definitely better equipped for this kind of crisis of pandemic than the others. So yes, I think now they are all working on how to put, as Thibaut said before, how to put data at the heart of their organization and get more direct interaction with their customers, with their client through data. Because the relationship, the bond between the brands and between the customers is being more and more important during this pandemic.
Yeah, I see. What do you think, Mikim, about this?
I think you have a two-speed kind of stream. The first stream is, we saw it, the GAFA. They are just like, flying away. And I'm sure that they will go ahead and ahead with the coming regulation and law that is actually in favor of them. Even if we see big fine that we find huge in terms of amount for them, it's just small money.
Yeah.
So that's one. On the other side, you have people struggling. And I think this COVID situation is triggering some question with regards to the way I should organize my data, what is more important for me. how I should work the ecosystem, as I was talking about at the beginning. So the first thing is you have so many data, maybe too many data, so you're kind of swamped in this ecosystem. Then you need to realize, okay, fine, I need to recenter on what is key for me, which is first-party data. So that's the number one priority. And then when you have this first-party data, you started to think, well, okay, how I should organize them, so the platform, then how I should actually onboard them just to make sure I will be spread across the ecosystem. And when you have that, you can think, and only at that moment, how actually I engage with my consumer. Okay. So I have consumer knowledge, I know my data, I know my asset, then you can engage, you can have strong KPI, and then you can fly. So that's the two streams that you have. The facility will be, well, the easy part will be, well, I just go with the usual suspect. As you know, we know all of them, go all over the world, and then it's easy, you're just flowing. The problem is you're not structured to face the real challenge of data when you're doing that.
Totally agree with you, Kim. What about you, Thibaut?
And actually, just to complement on what Mikim was just saying, we have really seen that the COVID period and the COVID crisis has triggered the right decision and the right change in mindset within the client. And actually, it has been really a two steps process. During the very first months of the crisis, the company were logically thinking about what they could cut as an investment and how they could rethink the way they were spending their money, because there was a lot of uncertainty going forward. And the natural reasoning in this kind of period was to say, look, I will stop everything that is not absolutely vital, and maybe we will come back to that at a later stage. And actually, it took them only a few weeks to consider that there was a huge risk that they are losing the relationship with their customer, and that if they were not doing now the necessary investment to prepare for what's coming next, they will put themselves in a very bad spot to be able to accelerate once the restriction will be lifted and once the normal life will come back. And so they have used this kind of few weeks period to ask themselves the right question and to say, look, I need to reorganize a bit my project and my investment going forward. And it has been a natural choice that the majority of the data projects move forward and were actually accelerated by this period.
Okay, so like we all agree that this pandemic thing is moving forward for next steps in the data community, the data world. This question gave me another question that crossed also my mind to tell, like, there is so many things are happening right now, so many changes are happening around data. So, Mikim, Mike, and Sabadu, like, what is the new challenges that you can afford for you or the brands you are working for?
I think the main challenge is about balance, the mix. So what should I own? What should I outsource? With whom should I outsource? So that's this mix, you know, the right balance, because you won't have enough money to invest in all the tech and everything that you need to do, because it's just endless. The second right mix that you need to fix is the human and tech mix. So shall I invest in more data scientists, more machine, rely on more AI, machine learning, deep learning, you name it? That's the main challenge that people are facing. I think, again, if you just rely on what is outside and not do the sort of introspection within the company and rethink where you really want to go and what you want to achieve with this balance, it's going to be hard.
For sure. What do you think, Laura, about this changing stuff?
I agree with Mikim about the balance, and I would add something about the human resources. I think we have a big challenge about being able to recruit, hire the right skills when it comes to data. It's not only about data scientists, even if you have a great career, no problem, no worry about that in that area. Okay. But I think we need to have, it's also a question of balance. We need to have the right balance between people understanding the brand, people understanding the data, able to process it, to collect it, to build their architecture, to understand, in fact, the world of tech, the world of data, and the world of brands and consumers. And hire the right people, able also to work together on that challenges. So it would be the first one. The second one is probably the trust from the consumers on what we are going to do with their data, because data is just people, it's their lives, their interaction again with the brand and with all the different touch points, and we have a kind of responsibility on the way we use that data to interact with them. So we absolutely need to protect that trust and to make sure it's a kind of an asset for the brands to make sure we have that trust.
If I may, we need to rebuild that trust.
Maybe.
I think we lost it a little bit.
That's it.
And actually, you were talking about the human challenge, and it's totally true between a company and its employee, or between a company and its ecosystem, but it's also true between a company and its customer. And if there is one thing that all of the changes that we have seen over the last few months and the one that are coming, is that it has really acted as a kind of reality check that a specific company can actually lose the relationship with its customer. It was totally true during the confinement, because you just couldn't go into the store you used to go to purchase your good. But speaking to an area that is the core of Epsilon activity, which is the media activity, you have exactly the same risk with the deprecation of third-party cookies, which is ultimately a company might have more challenges into reaching its customer online, because he won't have the usual key that everyone was using before it. And if you start to look at who will own this customer relationship and who is best positioned to move forward in this coming world, what might come out of all of this changing within the digital value chain is that it might really put the publisher at the center of everything much more than before, because ultimately they are the ones who own the customer relationship, so the web visitor relationship. Would it be in terms of authenticated traffic, in terms of contextual advertising, and I know it's a specialty of Making, but also in terms of managing consent, because ultimately you need to face a customer to ask his consent to use his data, and the publisher are probably the best one to be able to do so.
Okay, I was thinking about this customer relationship thing. And we know the most powerful right now, the most powerful brands are in direct interactions with the customer, and they owning their own data. I'm talking about global platforms such Google, Amazon, etc. So my question is how to unlock growth thanks to data?
For me, it's really putting data at the core of the transformation and making the necessary efforts to build your own data assets, to really take back control of your customer relationship and understand your customer better thanks to all of the interaction you might have with him. It can be a purchase, which is the more basic interaction you can have with your customer, but it can also be some interaction on social media, some interaction on direct mail or even postal mail. So it's really trying to gather at the same place all of the interaction that you might have with your customer. And at the end, it's not only about data, it's much more about customer experience, to make sure that everything is flowing smoothly and that you're providing to your customer the best customer experience possible.
Okay. Mikim.
I think there's two sides of the coins. The first side is the publisher. You were just talking about that, because the problem for them is how to unlock the value. They have the data, they have the content, they have some sort of big value in their hand. The problem is the market is not ready to pay for that value.
Okay.
And that's a big problem. And I think we need to support the ecosystem and we need to support the publisher, because this is the new way of tackling a little bit a counter proposition not against, because we're not against, just, a counter proposition and not putting all your dollars within the usual suspect and the platform. The other side is the consumer knowledge. And Laure was talking about trust. It's going to be harder and harder to build consumer knowledge in the world that we are moving into, to the cookie-less world. You're not going to be able to build some, hardcore system based on third-party data and the way you were tracking it, and measurement is the big challenge. So consumer knowledge to measurement will be the main difficulty to crack on if you want to leverage the value of data. So you have to develop the asset, the value of the publisher on one side, and you have to understand and stay connected with the consumer and be able to measure at the end of the day that you're really creating value as a publisher and bringing something to the consumer. Just because I'm coming back from China, a number that is very interesting, in China, the consumer are really believing in the market, the consumption, generally speaking. We think that in Europe, this is dead. And in China, this is the booming stuff. Why? Because when you ask Chinese people whether they will be willing to share their personal data to have a better consumer experience, 80% of them are answering yes.
Okay.
Ask the question here in Europe. Not sure about the answer. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So, you know, the challenge is really on both sides.
Yeah. The number is really amazing. Like, wow, 80%.
Yeah.
Laure, what do you think?
Yeah, we talked about insights, in fact, and the consumer knowledge, measurement. I think we need, for brands mainly, they need to think about, it's the first thing you said before, Mikim, they have to invest on data architecture, the way they collect it, the way they process it, but being able to know how they are going to use it in the end. They need also to have the vision. What do they want to do? What kind of relationship they want to build? And then that part of consumer knowledge and measurement will be naturally put in the right direction with an additional thing, which is the ability to orchestrate in real time that relationship. I mean, to orchestrate the customer experience on all the different touch points. And normally data can help to do that, to make sure through publishers on a paid media, we send the right message to the right people, of course, but also in the social network, also in the website of the brands, also in all the different touch point insights.
Yeah.
That's so simple.
That's it.
It's, in my opinion, a good way to drive values through data.
Okay. Okay. So my last question, as a data scientist, I had harsh time with data, I had good times with data. So for me, the world of data is colorful, I would say. So if data was color, so what is your color, Laure, and why?
Oh. I would say I cannot choose for sure one single color for data, because data is so diverse, and I think the diversity is the richness of data. So I would say a rainbow.
Okay. Amazing color.
No?
Oh, yeah.
That's not a color. I agree.
Okay, and you, Mikim?
It's definitely gold. This is the hardcore business of Deborah, and I'm believing in it, and I'm really optimistic about the future. There will be challenges, but this is why we're here. You know, if advertiser, publisher really don't have challenges, what the hell we're doing here? So gold, and you know, to harvest gold, you have to work hard.
Okay, indeed,
And
indeed.
some days there's nothing, and other days you find the little, you know, diamond thing, and then you have to polish it.
Okay, yes.
Data work.
And you, Thibaut?
I think I would say light blue. Because we usually we present data as something pretty dark blue or even black to explain that it's complex and it's kind of a black box where we do not understand exactly what's happening. And I have the hope that we will be able to make it simpler and to explain that even if managing the data is potentially complex, the use case and what we can deliver with it are actually pretty simple. And that's why I think light blue would be the right answer.
Okay. I will think of you when I will be behind my computer code. There's light blue, gold, and rainbow. Okay. So thank you very much. Like when I was first talking, I said I don't know what will happen with my career. Right now, I have a much more clear vision about it. So thanks.
Colorful vision.
Yeah, colorful vision. Thank you for that, and thanks for sharing your point of view, your knowledge. And for me, as a data scientist, I think it is a good thing to see brilliant and complementary players in this dynamic market, I would say. And okay, let's go. Let's see what will happen next. And in data we trust. So that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Lim.
Thank you.